On December 5th, 1901, Walt Disney was born in Chicago, Illinois. In 1906, the family moved to a Missouri farm where Walt first began to draw. The family farm failed, so they had to move back. They moved to Kansas City. Walt got his first job as a paperboy, working underneath of his father. The family moved back to Chicago not long after Walt retained his first job. Walt started creating cartoons for his yearbook in school. At the same time, he was going to classes at the Institution of Art in Chicago. He tried to enlist into the military, and he couldn't get in because he was only 16 years old. So he found an alternative route to get overseas, and he joined the Red Cross. So he got into France with the Red Cross towards the end of World War I. Walt got in some trouble while he was with the Red Cross. The van broke down, and somebody had to stay with the van at all times. And after 2 days of Walt sitting in the van himself, he decided to leave the van abandoned because nobody came back with help. And he went into a bar and was in a hotel room afterwards, and 2 soldiers knocked on the door and dragged Walt out of the hotel back to the van. And Walt then got relieved of his duties with the Red Cross. When Walt was riding in the back of the ambulance, he would spend most of his time drawing. He would draw on the side of the inside of the ambulance. He would draw on his sketchbooks, and he was creating cartoons even though he was overseas and they weren't actually going towards anything. When Walt came back home from the war, he settled back in Kansas City. He got a job at a cartoon studio that was putting cartoons into the paper. In 1920, he started working at an ad company, making cartoons for short commercials on television. And during that time, he discovered the art of animation going into films. Now he's working for Alafo Films, making animated commercials. And the company went bankrupt, so he decided to move to California at the age of 21. He showed up in California with only $40 in his pocket. He met up with his brother Roy, and he later met a woman by the name of Lillian, who he would later marry. Him and his brother Royce had a partnership in a company, and Walt then started creating he created Oswald. It was a lucky rabbit. It was Walt's first animated cartoon that he created on himself and was going to put into motion films and pictures. Each motion film was about 30 minutes long, and he made $1,500 each film. The first 2 was Plain Crazy and Gofflin Gouch. They were released in 1927. In the films, a mouse called Mickey was the main character. And since the first 2 films were such a big success, he quickly decided to make a 3rd film, which was called Steamboat Willie. Steamboat Willie was Walt's biggest hit and sensation. And Walt was offered to sell Mickey Mouse. Somebody offered to buy the name Mickey Mouse and the cartoons and everything. But he turned the offer down, even though he still did not have that much money, and they were offering a large chunk of money. He decided that he was going to keep Mickey Mouse. And later he made a motion picture starring Mickey Mouse, which was a big hit. And quickly after that, he came out with more animated characters such as Donald Duck, Pluto, and Goofy, which then all started to be put into the films also. And he really took off with the motion picture stuff when he created the fairy tale Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the the Three Little Pigs during the Depression was a big hit for Walt. Walt was the voice of Mickey until 1947 when he decided that it wasn't best for him to be the voice anymore because it wasn't sounding the same. And Walt decided that he wanted to open a amusement park there in California called Disneyland. The park had opened, and Walt had bigger visions, and he wanted more land, and he wanted to make it bigger. So he got in a flight, and he flew across the country and found enough land that he thought would work out great for him in Orlando, Florida, where they broke ground building Disney World. Before Disney World was ever open, Walt passed away. He never got to see the grand opening of Disney World. Disney World. And to this day, they still have not put everything that Walt has drawn on paper into the parks that have been created to this date.